What?
Blackjar, what are you doing?
I love you. Thank you so much.
Whoa, James, what the frickety frick? Whoa! Whoa!
The whole gifting subs thing, that is magical.
Ôi, giờ còn bao nhiêu phút nữa mới vào lại ván thứ hai nữa.
understand where it came from, but you got it, my got it. It began in the land of the sandstorm. I fought it, though I wanted everything to do with what you give to me. Loosening my grip as for you and to me. When I let you go, it just pulled you closer. It's a long departure. It's a long departure. Before I see you again, before it all makes sense, but I can hold you back. And I still don't understand where it came from, but you're back in with the passion. I'm awake with the flame in a hailstorm. I'm back in, I gotta have it. Everything to do with what you give to me. Loosening my grip as for you and to me. When I let you go, it just pulled you closer. It's a long departure. It's a long departure.
Ủa sao không có tiếng gì hết trơn vậy? Hình như không có tiếng gì hết đúng không?
Does Chovy have something else up his sleeve? We saw his willingness to play Scion into it. You know another champion that does well into it right now? Nautilus.
Oh,
We haven't seen it yet.
And it's a note button for Akali, but it doesn't have to be. You can still run Akali and weather what is a
Cấm
awkward
rise.
lane phase, but our thought was that Griffin wanted to get the 2v2 lead from jungle and the mid lane. So actually, given everything, SKT might be surprised to see Lissandra first rounded by Griffin. They've dropped priority on that champion pretty far, and they don't end up getting Galio and the Lissandra.
And I like
Hình như có vẻ con
they
Braum
put
là
the
những con
Galio
FB
to actually dissuade Sonataric. We talked
Để
about
sử dụng
that
duy nhất
on
là
the broadcast. He's
trận
best
trước cũng xài, trận này
support
cũng xài.
against it down in the bottom lane. And there's so many combos. You mentioned that earlier on, Papa. There's Jarvan available. Here he comes, potentially. And the Lissandra, yes, they gave it away, but maybe it was a bluff.
And also, they're pretty happy to strap Galio into the mid lane and farm out against Lissandra, who's much more about 2v2 than it is about 1v1, right? It's very much pushing for a later part of the game or a teleport blank. So I like the cut of your jib there, Alice. I think you have a good point about the fact that Galio gives away the least, but we get the information pretty fast. Baker just says, screw it, I'm going to actually be lane dominant against Lissandra at a point and try to just blow him up on this Azir.
Excited to see what kind of variant of the Azir he's going to go with as well. We saw Hail of Blades most recently from Pawn here in the LCK.
Cắm Rise để lấy Azir.
Come out around the world.
Could we see Sword flex Lissandra top? Because it's a non-interactive champion that could push. You don't have to play it in mid lane, but we think we know.
Trước thì Ezreal từ Teddy.
Azir matchup. We'll get back to that point later. Griffin, they're actually going to rip away the Ezreal that Teddy's had so many amazing performances on and try to outrange the threat wombo combo of SKT.
And I really like that. They had option between Ezreal and Lucian, two of the most dominant AD carry champions in Korea throughout spring 2019. They opted for the Ezreal. What that tells me is that they're not going to try to go super aggressive and put the Azir in the ground. And the SKT try to fight fire with fire. And instead, I think they're going to recalibrate their draft into a more mid-range, late-game scaling type of team comp.
And I want to point out something fun. You and I were discussing how Griffin win games, and I'm a big proponent of the 2v2 mid-jungle. Notice no jungler taken first round by Griffin. No Rek'Sai, no Lee Sin, these high-tier picks. If that doesn't happen, we very often see them hold jungle to last pick. There's no guarantee, because they're probably considering at least Lissandra flex to top side. Had a chance to pop over Lissandra games, but doesn't mean he's not playing it. You could just go for a power jungle and something will be available. Kindred is something Tarzan has played before, but the Evelynn that you're never completely discounting could be that big last pick for Griffin.
Well, I'll talk about Evelynn a little bit. She doesn't really like Galio. I'll tell you that much.
Or AoE crowd control in general.
Yeah, AoE crowd control in general. I will say, though, that other unorthodox pick that we talked about, maybe Tarzan could pull out the Karthus. It feels like we talk about him quite often in the LCK sometimes. Not that great with the Ezreal and the Lissandra. That's quite too much magic damage.
And it wasn't Tarzan's reason. Em chơi được. Good smites. He had a good jungling phase on the Olaf.
Sao tự nhiên tôi thấy khuôn mặt con rừng này tôi lại giống như là anh đang nói câu như em chơi được yên tâm. Hồi nãy chỉ là lỗi thôi, em chơi được.
The result is you can theoretically hold that sword new pick or potential flex of the Lissandra to final pick does mean no Evelynn this time out.
And also means that Teddy's able to pick up his Lucian pretty comfortably here for the bottom side of the map. You mentioned Lucian Galio, a little bit of early power down there. SKT were weathering the storm in the bottom lane in game number 1 on exactly what Griffin have built up themselves in this particular game. And they're going to have a whole lot more fire this time around as Faker would most likely go into Khan's hands if the Akali starting is going to be not a lot of tanky boys here on this SKT roster.
And another reason you might want to flex the Lissandra top side. So this is really interesting. Basically he's saying Sword's champion pool range is tanks, Akali will farm out against a tank. How's this going to go?
Hình như có vẻ đang rất khó để cho bên Griffin chọn tướng rồi sao? Tại bên kia nó...
I've seen it from some of the LPL teams in scrims.
Oh, wow.
Azir. And so I don't know if that could end up happening here, but it's most likely just going to be the Akali.
Hồi nãy bên kia đã chọn Lissandra rồi, nhưng mà hồi nãy bên kia chọn Zoe.
Could have been meant to answer the Lissandra, but not going to be the case. Hecarim going to come in here now for Sword. And so SK Telecom with quite an aggressive team composition.
However, Griffin have built themselves a very different comp this time around. This
Sao thấy đội hình bên người Phi nó cứ bị sao sao. Kiểu như nó không đồng bộ. Kiểu nó giống như trận trước, kiểu về sale cũng vậy bị thiếu sát thương.
Top lane Azir, top lane Ori, leave that off my broadcast, Ellis. I've got nothing left. But at the end of this one,
he got the Avengers bottom lane in game number 1. He can't have everything.
Nhìn vô camera mới bắt tay hả?
We end up seeing the Hecarim answer. Hecarim has
if you
actually shroud on the corner, you can be pushed out of it, depending on the targeting timing, and actually be accountable. The Ignite can be there. I believe SKT said that Sword's champion range didn't include a pick that could dominate Akali 1v1. So that's why we saw the blind Akali. The Hecarim, yes, it's more to the tank side, but you build Trinity Force before you build any tanky items. So let's see if we see some attention top side to try to take down Akali.
Yeah, see whether or not it's going to be Khan getting that attention as well. I mean, in theory, both of these junglers can get things done pretty early on. And top lane does look very, very volatile, always between these two players, which is why it's so cool. They have such a good relationship. We're going to get into it though. Here we are, game number 2, Griffin versus SKT.
Ok, chúng ta vào trận 2 của chung kết mùa xuân 2019 LCK. Game 2. SKT phía đội xanh và GRF phía đội đỏ.
Still so many Griffin fans here in the stadium.
We actually got a chant this time out.
Yeah, we did. We got a
Mới vào tới phút 38 rồi.
Thank goodness. SKT fans have been holding that one in for about an hour. So that's why this entire stadium just erupted.
And we've all been holding it in ever since we saw SKT Griffin, because I think every caster became a bias caster. They want to see fight between SKT and Griffin. Game number 1 was some nice table setting, and the quick answer that I called for was, Griffin, bring back the standard. Much more standard a draft in game number 2. Ranged 80 carries for both Teddy and Viper. Now, this time it's an aggressive invading level 1 from Griffin. To be fair, though, they have Olaf Braum. Could you be a better level 1 dealer?
Probably not. And the thing for Griffin with the scaling team composition, it feels like a lot of the eggs are going to be in the Viper basket late game. But they're going to have a lot of difficulty stabilizing, I feel, in the early into mid transition against the Lucian.
Well,
and
SKT
the
actually
Azir.
aggressively moving into the jungle. That's going to be a double taunt landing. There from Mata. Tarzan very, very low. Will go down. It goes over to Khan. Mata uses his whole health bar, and it's absolutely fine. 2 kills for SKT.
Hai mạng dành cho SKT.
5, and they get the double kill from it. Akali goes top. Really nice roll of the dice, pays off, and then some. No items in the first buy, but a kill and assist. Was that gunblade for Akali.
And everyone gets to the lane first as well. Getting back to the lane, having the lane prio. We take another look at the replay. Griffin don't know that they're outnumbered. And so the Galio taunt so powerful on close call there onto Mata, but not quite. And I really like Chovy's discipline. He doesn't flash.
And I really like the surround by SKT. Notice that Akali, seeing the Braum and Olaf, and the early invade, as we get the Naisus already in Stadium. The Akali doesn't go top lane. She actually stays around in case there is actually the chance for a 5v4. So they just did their math sums and said 5 is a bigger number than 4. Even Twitch chat knows that. And that means level 1 advantage.
I also love the communication as well. You saw Teddy walk straight past, share pixels with Viper,
and not
shoot him at all because they knew that they needed to get that first blood to give themselves even more of that man advantage. It didn't matter what an Ezreal can do at level 1 because it's just not a whole lot against this Lucian. And now SKT off to an incredible start. And I think it's very different to what Griffin did in game number 1 because yes, they were able to get a very early first blood pre-1 minute, but I think that the snowball implications on Griffin now is much more scary.
And I think we should discuss an S word here, LS, and that S word is scaling, because you were talking about the scaling comp on the side of Griffin. I actually look at how these fights are likely to go, and I say, if Khan presses all his buttons on the Ezreal, he's going to be able to zone out Ezreal. There's actually not that much threat behind it, so I actually think Griffin needs to get going in the early mid-game and might have some scaling issues. Azir, a scaling god in and of himself. Azir's now got a lane against a no-flash Lissandra, as we know. And speaking of Lissandra...
Yeah, Faker's going to come on over. He's only level 4, but he's still got enough damage. Clit's going to help out. And Griffin lose 3 in the first 4 minutes.
And that game's going to be so hard, LS, because now, with Summoners being down, Sword's trying to help, he's teleporting too late, it's all falling apart.
Yeah, everything is just looking very tilty, is the only way that I can actually describe it with Sword's teleport. Chovy finding himself in a really bad position. And what is the mental state of Griffin right now in this game here? As we can see that everything is going right for SKT.
I'm not willing to pull out the tilt word just yet, but let's discuss something that happened. The flash is down on Chovy. He's playing this lane like he has flash. This is not respecting the level 1 that happened, and it's SKT doing what every jungler does in solo queue. Oh, we got a flash, return to the lane. They return to the lane, and definitely Chovy at one point said, I'm gonna die if you don't TP. Sadly, it was disconnected, and by the time the TP did come, they're kind of putting themselves further into that level 1 hole.
Yeah, and that's 2 deaths for Chovy now as well as he returns from base. Teleport was there, so doesn't miss out on too much farm, only down 6 as we go through and have a look at those CS margins. Sorta's done okay since heading back towards top side of the map, and bot lane is also even.
And one of the things that I like that Papa mentioned is that SK Telecom, they do have scaling champions on their team composition, and the thing I was alluding to is that if this goes really late, the only scaling champ that can go toe-to-toe against SK Telecom is going to be the Ezreal. But Akali and Azir, they have a lot more fire to work with.
I think Akali goes in the back line and maybe doesn't kill Ezreal, but Ezreal ain't doing damage to other people. Meanwhile, Azir Lucian should be free hitting. So that's why I like SKT as the game goes on. And that's why the level 1 being so calamitous with so many summoners being down. Chovy tries to return to pushing in Azir, because otherwise you get harassed by the extra range on the Azir. Doesn't play to his summoner disadvantage. I have full confidence in Chovy playing this lane with summoners, but the adaptations after level 1 weren't there, and that's where SKT is pounced.
Well, on the bottom side of the map, you were mentioning the Ezreal needing to get ahead. Well, at the moment, he's got Klepto and does have a CS advantage of about 10 as this minion wave gets cleaned up and equalized. So Griffin do have that win condition theoretically in their back pocket. SKT losing a lot as far as frontline is concerned. I feel like Hecarim and Olaf are going to have more backline access given just what those champions do. But I agree with you guys, there's just so much damage potential on this SKT roster as this game goes on. And Faker has taken the lethal tempo, so has a little bit more damage potential with 6 items than you would if you had the Halo Blade.
And one of the things I want to talk about the later stage things, if this dive doesn't end up happening, is Griffin, they don't have a smoke and mirrors team comp this time around. They're going to be forced to team fight against SK Telecom. And when 3 of your champions want to go into SKT, the Ezreal is going to be all by himself.
Oh, that's a single man taunt, but he gets stunned up. Mata has to flash to get out of the way. Justice Punch
to
go back in. Mata knows that he is finished, and Viper picks up the first kill for Griffin.
It was so important that Tarzan path bot side to potentially stop the same damn dive that Griffin did in game number 1, and has traditionally done, building up the minion wave. Fortuitous that he had no other camps on the map, so he goes to the Gromp, the only one he had up. That's when Kled was umming and ahhing. You notice he was trying to pull out earlier when Mata went in, and a disconnect between jungle and support. You know, Mata usually, it's Mata Dandy, right, when you're thinking of historic jungle supports. Here, Kled and Mata were on a kind of different page, and that's a bit of a gimme back for Griffin.
And we take a look at the replay here. Kled manages to get the Gromp, doesn't know about Tarzan, and everything just gets turned on its head. In just a few seconds, Predator came in, Mata knew that he was dead, just tried to run off onto the side, said leave my teammates alone.
He was in that awkward spot where if Kled had engaged, regardless of the call, at least he'd have Aftershock if he went in. If he does Justice Punch defensively, he doesn't even get to Aftershock. And yes, he was kind of done all ends up, to use a cricket analogy, as we get to use that once. We've got some Aussies on the cast. Still,
he was certainly pulling the car over and parking at that particular point in time. So, Mata, no harm, no foul. Should still be able to keep themselves in this lane relatively comfortably. Teddy goes back, gets himself a shop, is going for the Blade of the Ruin King build. We saw Def try to popularize the Essence Reaver, 3-item spike being very powerful on the Lucian. Feels like he's more of a late game threat, not where Teddy's going to be heading this particular time around as Lahan's moving into the mid lane, but Faker's just going to glide his way over towards his turret.
It's a coverage roam, Galio's bot lane, but you're not getting a kill on Faker with summoners up and everything available. Top side, which we've ignored the other times, actually been CS for CS, so that's something where Akali can prey upon some melee laners, and Hecarim does take kind of level 9, points into Rampage and towards a Trinity Force to trade back. No Ignite all-in timing because Olaf's been elsewhere, so probably both sides are, you know, content with it being salvaged, and the Akali with the extra gold, actually just gone for Seeker's Arm Guard Rush, but also the Gunblade should be on time as well, thanks to the level 1.
Sort of like getting a Seeker's Arm Guard for free, almost, by having such a great level 1 fight. Teddy throws out the cuddling. The cuddling. Feels a little bit like the cuddling when it goes straight into an Unbreakable.
Illusion especially, it feels like a cuddling.
It's one of the best mistakes I've made, I think.
His name's Teddy. It's an acceptable mistake.
Well, here as we take a look at top lane, not too much plate damage actually being inflicted. Chovy, he's going to get the blue handoff, but he hasn't recalled yet. He does have teleport coming up, though. And so with this blue buff, yes, he can stay around inside of the lane, but he doesn't have the most amount of oomph inside of his punches. And he's even going to take a little bit of damage here by Faker, and maybe he's okay with this, thinking, I'm going to TP anyway.
He's on a recall timing, so desperately trying to get a shove, and Olaf's not there to help him push out mid, so not a lot of great options for Chovy in the mid lane. Stabilized so much with the summon advantage into the secondary gank, so Azir is going to be on point when we hit the mid game with those items. Tarzan once again in position for a counter gank, but this time, even with flash down on Mata, hard to translate into something.
Yeah, you can see SKT playing very defensively. They're not going to move themselves underneath the turret again. Mata learned from his previous mistake. Cloud Drake is going to be the first one. The beginning of the Drakes that aren't as useful. Wouldn't that be how you'd put it, LS?
I would call that a Clown Drake. Probably not the most useful. Although, Hecarim and Olaf are both on the team. So for
damage
the Predator,
scaling, actually.
It's interesting.
Yeah,
this actually isn't
go.
a Clown Drake. This
might
Cloud
actually
from Final
just
Fantasy
be a
VII.
Cloud. Oh my goodness.
Does it become a Crown Drake then? What are we doing here? Is there a name for if it's good? What if the team is the perfect team for a Cloud Drake? I don't know. You're the one with the names, LS. Come on.
Well, Shelly Rivers, speaking of names, is going to be started up here by SKT. Tarzan taking some damage as he's trying to get them off it, but it looks like SKT should be able to have a monopoly of this area. Chovy moving on over, wants to take down
Tarzan.
Faker. It's stolen!
Whoa!
So is Teddy. He's trying to find the teleport.
Yeah!
Just before Viper makes his way into the fight, but can Griffin still manage to get the work done? The answer is just a straight up no. The ultimate comes through from Chovy to get one on the back end, but you can see Faker still trying to do damage. Mata is in here with 200 health. He does have a lot of damage available there at this particular level, but Faker should be able to finish this one off. One more auto. Can he get on top of Chovy? Gets it with the final Q.
Một pha lao lớn cho Vi.
For SKT, they get more of the kills. Not ideal to lose the Rift Herald, and Tarzan gets to pick it up. But after that, with Viper just offering himself in tribute, cold, no cuddling this time. This is a cuddle of death. Viper thinks he's free to go for a team fight advantage because he can teleport into a team fight, the enemy's not in. Viper sees and knows that Teddy can't cancel it, but it's too long, Viper, what are you doing?
Yeah. And
I think
I think he was just trying to get out.
Yeah.
Not actually trying to teleport into a fight. Just so happened there was a fight happening at this point in time. We're seeing this one right now. Sword with a point-blank ultimate to try and get Griffin ahead.
The thing about this is that if Tarzan doesn't get the steal, this is so disastrous for SK Telecom. Teddy is going to get such an experience lead and a gold advantage down into bottom. Then they would have the Herald to boot.
Không đủ sát thương.
Griffin would be picked off like
Không.
Strangle. Such a heavy commitment.
And fans of
Một
5
pha
game
quy hụt.
series, you need to see Griffin get something, salvage something from all their trades. Otherwise, you start looking at your watch and be like, oh, the 3-0 chances go up and up. The fact that they're
Xéo
salvaging
2 và bên Griffin cướp được con siêu giặc đất.
more likely for a longer series, but Griffin need to start making mistakes like they have been too much today.
Well, Tarzan's looking for Clid. Griffin's still not ready to stop fighting just yet. Couple more autos onto Mata will stun him up. As Clid's fighting on with Tarzan because Faker, he's got the inside track. Another culling comes out. Not the cuddling this time. Lehens wasn't there with the door availability.
Azir's first roaming on a Lissandra already tells you everything you need to know about how mid lane has gone. Chovy tries the ult.
He's going to get in there. Clid's going to get locked down, but the heroic entrance comes in. The bouncy castle is erected, and Faker locks down the kill on his opposite number. Make that a double as the Olaf falls, and the Cloud
Thôi,
Train
theo.
will take it.
And Griffin with a
Tôi nghĩ trận này nó
great choice. Chovy handshaking that by trying to lock up Clid, but Tarzan was not in close enough proximity.
Hồi thấy biết tướng thấy nó cứ kỳ kỳ sao.
To straighten up.
It's an item lead, it's a roam first lead with the Galio. It's just Chovy just being
Để cho một con Azir 303.
making a very poor decision. They're going to lose a lot for this. Teleport's being
Quá lực.
busted, I believe. Sword, yeah, coming in, the only teleport remaining to try to wave clear. Second defensive teleport around mid lane for the Hecarim in a skill matchup.
And more respite now for the Akali, who I think is building some odd items. But let's have a look at this fight once again.
I mean, it was just knock up city right there for the
Quá ghê, một pha R của Galio kết hợp với R của Azir hất tung hai lòng. Galio không thể tiếp góc được luôn mà.
Is Mata having the grand entrance on Galio? Just a very peculiar loss of thought, it seems like. Ends up resulting in a double kill for SKT.
Well, we'll see whether this results in a kill as Khan trying to run away from Sword, and will do so effectively. With the backflip on the Shuriken, I told a lie. Not interesting items at all. It's exactly what an Akali's going to build most of the time as a stopwatch that's broken at this point in the game, though, and that Zhonya's is going to be quite some ways away after the Gunblade.
And we're learning item break points in the Hecarim versus Akali matchup, a bit of pieces from both. Find some way to jam this Rift Herald, but it's not pre-14 minutes, and it's somewhere where SKT can start to reinforce. Here comes Faker, but he'll be late.
Yeah, going to be a little bit late. Ring of Frost does come in as Chovy doesn't get knocked up. Aftershock wears off now. Clid takes a lot of damage, Khan as well, but Faker, he wants the fight. He's got the Emperor's Divide.
Oh, he's not.
No, not going to be able to get in there just yet. Not enough vision available, and they had to deal with Shelly.
I saw a flash up, and I wondered if we would see one of those Azir Sec plays in this finals arena. Griffin have chosen to stay, notice.
Yep.
Griffin are looking a little bit panicked, maybe, going for these very high-risk, high-reward plays, and it's just not panning out. They rotated their bottom lane into mid to try to cover up for the fact that Chovy was on a roam, but they didn't find anything with the play that was pretty committing for a rotation.
The thing that's really scary, guys, is I'm looking at this, and you saw, I don't know whether you guys saw on, you guys at home saw on Twitter that all of the coaches did do their predictions. Most people saying SKT. In fact, there was only one, Hanwha Life, their coach, that predicted it would be Griffin, and Damwon Gaming predicted that they didn't know, basically. Everybody else said SKT, and they said it was going to be because of this jungle mid lane synergy. You guys mentioned it already before game number 1, once again before game number 2, and it's happening again. Now in game number 3, Faker and Clid are demolishing Griffin.
Well, Faker's having his own basketball in this mid lane, just auto-attacking away. He's been under no threat ever since the flash was used at level 1. What a costly level 1 that proved to be for Griffin, and it's really what you focus on, Atlas, because again, the Origin G2 series, where recently Origin had played way better than G2, so go for recency. Well, now everyone laughs and says recency bias. This feels more like recency. Griffin tripping over their shoelaces against Afrika and Gen G, also losing the King Zone. The Dross that you shook your head and said, well, they didn't have much to play for. They got everything to play for. The Dross have had some merit, but the players let them down in game number 2. And the draw from game 1 had a timer they couldn't respect.
And one of the things here for me is that this is only going to get worse now for Griffin. We're at a stage of the game where they are supposed to be ahead. They're the ones that would like to be in the driver's seat. And so now everything is going to boil down to Viper inside of the team fights on the Ezreal. And can he somehow be a god and manage to survive and weather the storm inside of the team fights? Or is Khan and Faker just going to get easy access to him?
Well, Khan maybe overextended just a little bit, but actually that is not going to be the case. Just going to trade back some Qs and some autos with Sword, who goes down to half health. Still looking for more, maybe thinks that Tarzan's a little bit closer than he is, because Khan is just ripping him to shreds.
Yeah, the Gunblade is done, so the happy times for trading with an Akali are gone. Sword still has a lot of threat. Here we go.
Yep, Softball Onslaught is going to come forward.
I think he missed his
Onslaught of
E.
Shadows, in fact, as Khan did manage to backflip to the right point, I believe, in order to get the fear in the right direction. Second charge of the ultimate does come in.
Yeah, the precise interaction, we need to slow it down, but he got away from it. That's the most important thing. That's another all-in attempt that hasn't gone their way. If you're wondering how Griffin was supposed to play, it's an Olaf draft. We always talk about those tempo drafts where you're ahead on the map. Remember, they want to be ahead with teleports, as Chovy is using everything defensively, and all these teleports, this 3 teleport advantage, has actually got Griffin more deaths, not kills.
Exactly, and now Khan is happily 1v2ing underneath this turret. Baker is going 1v1 so easily, and what does that mean, guys? There's just more players on the map for SKT. They'll take down the outer turret bottom lane. They'll even be able to start up the second Cloud Drake. It's going from easy to easier for these guys.
Yeah, and Griffin really look like they're falling apart here as the mid-game transition has commenced. They're going to go for this roam one more time, but the minion wave just evaporates.
This is about as all-in as he can get as Chovy gets over to the side. The flash does come in from Khan, stays out of vision, but it doesn't matter when it's Alessandro. Baroque entrance comes forward, Khan still alive for so long. Gunblade comes in, and he's in turret range. Khan, the god!
Khan's able to clean it up, moderate position as well. It's all too obvious. They're getting an
Hình như
all-you-can-eat
bây giờ là
buffet on Griffin.
1-4 rồi
Every single
sao?
objective
You know
going
that
their
tilt
way.
word you
Fakers
were
are
talking
Nem
down.
rồi.
It
I
wasn't
think it's
tilt
happened
before.
now.
It's definitely tilt now.
Yeah, this
Một pha
is
bóng không
definitely
kéo
tilt.
được
That looked like a
Ali
very
về.
good Lysandra claw,
Giống như
but
cái trận
just not able
giống như cái đội hồi
to
nãy á.
pick up the kill. Look at
Giống như cái trận
that.
hồi nãy không kéo được
Beautiful
Galio
max range
của
play. The
Mata về.
ultimate came in, but it didn't matter as Khan already got the flash away. He got into proximity for the grand entrance. Chovy missing his skill shot as well.
Một pha skill hụt. Cái chiếu là hình như chiếu E hay là chiếu Win ra? Cái là chiếu E của Lissandra đúng không? E hay là Win? Hình như là
And
Win.
some fans at home will ask, why is that obvious? Why did he start moving away from the turret? Why is Olaf still in the lane and melee auto-attacking a turret as the minion wave is dying?
And where's
Only makes
Lysandra?
sense if the mid lane is roaming. So that's the math that Khan did in his head. That's why he didn't take an extra 300 damage thrown out from an axe or some other spells, or an ignite even from sword where it's still available. That's how he knew to kite back, and kite back to a benefit, as sword is pretty overextended but can ult away.
Yeah, Onslaught of Shadows is going to help him here. Klid's still chasing after the horse. The teleport comes in. No CC necessary because
Lại tiếp tục một pha tele và bị
I'm
Sư
gonna hope
bị
that he
hủy
thought he was
diệt bởi
igniting
Thanh Trừng.
someone, but these
Pha hậu
teleports
đáng bị hủy diệt bởi Thanh Trừng
Don't
luôn.
let
Cũng
someone
phải
sit
dịch
there
chuyển
and
chàng
teleport
ngay
outward.
ngay cái đường dưới Adriel á. Giờ phải lượt người
I
khác
don't
rồi.
quite understand what exactly is happening right here with the teleports for Griffin. But Infernal Drake, it's coming up in just over
Hai pha
2.5
tele.
minutes now. They're definitely not likely to be in a position to contest that. And so SK Telecom with 2 Cloud Drakes, what's likely to be an Infernal and the Akali in Azir being absolutely massive at this stage of the game. This was the story in game number 1. Well, what needs to happen for Griffin to make those 8 out of 100 times come true?
They're on 8 this time.
It's not 8,
No.
it's probably about 2.
It's
And
going
I
to be
think
really rough.
Those
Baron Steel, Elder Steel, there you go, I
and
have
here's
them.
the thing, LS, those 2 are not Griffin doing things. They're kind of asterisk mistake plays from SKT. It feels like any way where Griffin controls their agency, they are probably in a really, really awful spot here. 2 item spikes done on everyone. It's great scaling on the side of SKT. Faker being a bit bold, but he's been able to play, like we said, with his own basketball. He's not sharing with anyone today. If he was in a playground, the kindergarten teacher would not be happy.
He'd definitely be the ball hog.
But everyone else is so strong, and Jarvan, with all of his kills, it's not usually ideal for a Cinderhulk Jarvan to have 4 kills out of the 10. He's gone for the I'm going to turret dive everyone build, and you know what? He'll last a while.
Yeah, he's probably pretty happy to turret dive everyone at this point in time. Right now, he's in the enemy jungle. They've got a heck of a lot of vision down there on the bottom side of the map. Griffin will be able to clear out this control ward most likely as Lehens gets himself into the pit and does so. So Baron Vision is there for Griffin. They're going to make a play. It might need to be around Tarzan and his smites because that has been the best news story here for Griffin so far tonight.
Well, here now with Infernal coming up in just over a minute. Griffin, they're going to try to get as much gold as they possibly can. Really interesting itemization choice coming out here for Viper, though. Maybe he can get to Blade of the Ruin King before that next team fight. But talking about Baron for Griffin, they don't have the best Baron taking potential.
They have good turn off the Baron, but their actual Baron damage is very, very weak. Blade of the Ruin King has capped damage, but it obviously helps the Ezreal have some sort of threat. Everyone else, we're not going to see Hecarim just helicoptering his Qs and auto-attacking. It's not really going to happen, so definitely take your point, LS. And it's also situational tanks with health and redemption and magic resist trying to turn against an item lead SKT with an Azir who literally has nothing to worry about in the backline. His flash and cleanse have never been used this game. He's just been having a really happy time, so getting control, face checks, look at this.
Yeah, that's the calling. Cataclysm comes out from Klid there as well as Tarzan does get out. Redemption comes in, keeps him topped up. But that's a horse that can't go anywhere near a Baron right now. Sorry, Lehens that can't go anywhere near a Baron right now, but both of them are going to be backing. SKT not going to start it up. They're going to play this one pretty cool, calm, and collected because they wanted to use Khan to grab themselves an Infernal Drake.
Because of that scaling that we discussed, and especially the gold lead, just like game number 1, there are no propositions where 5 people run at 5 that Griffin are going to be favored. So if they decide as a team they want Infernal, you say thank you very much, sir, enjoy your Infernal.
Yep.
And the Infernal comes in, and of course another Infernal comes in behind it.
I believe that Akali just got almost 2 long swords and a blasting wand in terms of value from the stat amplification as I was looking at her icon at the bottom left. That's really scary off of an Infernal Dragon. Can you imagine what Azir's getting in terms of value?
For fans of a competitive series, I hope you're wrong, is all I'm going to say, because that sounds like a lot less. I'll give you the benefit of the doubt on that one. Griffin just can't hold a position on the map. You talked about how a Baron Seal, which again is usually a misplay by the team that's ahead, in this case SKT, rather than a great play by Griffin, requires some semblance of control of their red side jungle. They're struggling even getting the first part going. The wards on things like red buff are looking conditional at best.
Well, zombie wards are going to get cleared out here. Justice Punch gets smarter back towards this Baron pit. There is a control ward there, but Flag and Drag will get cleared into the Baron pit. And SKT, they'll play it by the numbers. They are so good at this. It doesn't matter how much pressure this team has on them. Historically, in playoffs matches like this, it's been a while because 2018 wasn't SKT's year. But this squad is so good at keeping level-headed. And I think it has a lot to do with the coaching staff, with people like Koma just standing at the back, able to tell them that it's all going to be okay. And most of the time, guys, it is.
Well, in this game, Griffin, they're trying to posture for vision right now around their red side jungle. But the slightest mistake could mean SK Telecom gets back.
Could this be it? Double knockups are going to come in. The Taunted Land Redemption comes forward. That does a bit of damage. Thankfully, Stand Behind Me exists. And there was someone in place to get Lands out of there. Marta's still looking for it, but Tarzan, he has to flash. Ragnarok, not enough at all. Holds onto that one, but that's a big button now unavailable. And SKT even get themselves in a turret.
At some point, Occam's Razor says that Teddy heard what you said about the cuddling, took exception, and is now just trying to kill everyone. Where they stand. Griffin, though, they're trying to outnumber on Faker.
Yeah, should be able to get a knock up here. Okay. Jumps through the wall with the onslaught of shadows, but heroic entrance comes down. They don't have enough damage. It's Faker. He's even still alive. Stands among 3. Straight up doesn't care. Shifting Sands gets him the shield. He even takes down the horse himself. SKT, they grab a couple of kills, and it just looks like Griffin are too far behind.
And Faker said to take that Trojan horse elsewhere as he raised the Shurima passive and turned the whole fight. And it's looking like SK Telecom, they have their pick of the litter right now. Tarzan's still alive, so they don't want to start the Baron on the off chance something goes disastrous. Because that would likely be the only way Griffin has a chance back in. 2 minutes until the Elder.
Now, this is too respectful, if not for another point, but I'll get to it after the replay. Faker, of course, does his best Phoenix impression here. He sees enemies and he says, I'm going to have a Shurima turret, a Gargoyle, and a Dream. And his dream, you know what? His dream was fulfilled. By the end, the team is able to collapse through here. The rest of this play is whatever, so I want to focus on, remember Griffin have lots of teleports, so if you don't actually kill the Baron before the teleports come in, suddenly it gets really confusing trying to finish this Baron and peel correctly and target select. Usually, if multiple people are dead and Olaf is flashed, this Baron is free. Azir is 3 items, but SKT respect the teleports and say, this is our game to lose. We have the scaling advantage. Let's not take this risk now.
Well, they didn't. Baron is still there, as you can see, 28 minutes into this game. Infernal Drake is going to be up in 1 minute's time. We'll see whether they wait to try and get an earlier Elder Drake. I know this is something that you talk about a lot, LS, on the broadcast, is timing your Drakes to make sure you get either an extra one if you want to, extend that one out, or get the Elder Drake as soon as possible. I feel like SKT probably want to fight over an Elder as fast as they can.
Yeah, and so do they wait until the 30-minute mark to consume the Infernal Dragon? Or do they just eat it right away and allow something else to end up spawning?
Maybe get another one.
Maybe get another one.
I would say, with how this game was supposed to go, the idea of delaying has some merit. I don't think Griffin can fight for 2 objectives, and I think you get whichever one you really want. So, go for bonus. Here we go.
There's the flash. Big taunt coming out from Marta to start this one off. Lahans throws the ultimate back towards Teddy, but it doesn't interrupt the culling. It's not the cuddling anymore. Chovy trying to stand the back line, but he just does no damage. Sword is too late to the fight, and as he jumps in, he just gets taunted. Faker sweeps the floor, and Griffin members die. The Ragnarok's not going to be enough. Viper can't run fast enough. And Griffin, I think you're done this time around. Khan's found Tarzan, and he's just playing with his food.
Cleans him up. That's another kill to SKT. Another wipe. They're pushing through mid lane. They want to go home early.
Yeah, exactly. We've got 4 minions here. SKT, they can tank up turrets if they want to. Maybe not Marta, as Viper still does some damage. But look at these turrets melt. The Nexus will follow, and SK Telecom will move to match point in the final of LCK Spring 2019.
And SK Telecom with an extremely decisive victory, saying that they want to take it all the way as they just charge right down the Nexus. Viper not able to do anything, and Tarzan, he was just getting danced on by Khan.
Really? Just Tarzan? I think the whole lineup here was getting danced on a little bit. The level 1 Griffin triad with Olaf and Rom was red. SKT was ahead of that play, and then from there, it all fell into place. Gank the overextended Lissandra, who can't lane as aggressively against Azir without that summoner. Profit here and there, and sadly, for fans of a competitive series, we saw Griffin use teleports very freely. They had a multiple global strategy about outnumbering around the map, but they were actually just outnumbering to their doom and peril. Again and again, we said, Griffin, make it honest, make it a standard draft. Now we run out of advice and we just say, Griffin, show us something new, because what you're doing tonight, we're less than 2 hours in. It's not working. Exactly,
and they tried to go back to what they were used to, what was winning earlier on in the split when they were on such an incredible streak. And SKT just said, we don't care. We play the best standard League of Legends in the LCK right now. We'll show you exactly how that one's supposed to work. And it did. Yes, the level 1 went against them, but otherwise, just outplayed.
The SK Telecom super team is really living up to not only the notion of what a super team is, but what everyone expected of them coming into this split. They just kept ramping up, and as Atlas just said, they play the best standard League of Legends. No smoke and mirrors necessary for this team.
In Korea, KT Rolster 2017 was the super team, and that was very quickly an ironic title, one used to cheer about KT and poke fun at them. This SKT lineup was dubbed the Dream Team, and when they lost games in Kesper Cup, people used that against them. They lost a dumb one in 2 out of 3 series, and yet, here we are, and suddenly the Dream Team has finally ascended, or at least is 1 step away. 3 match points away from ascending. Griffin have been able to reverse sweep before, but on this night, with how game 1 and 2 was gone, if you're a betting man and bet on it, be ready to lose the money.
Yep, and now side selection will go over to Griffin, so theoretically they should have a little bit more of an opportunity to get themselves back into this one, but SKT so far have won on both sides of the rift. What's the answer?
One of the things I was worried about is what is Griffin's mental fortitude down 0-2? Maybe they're going to pull out Sonic, Papa.
Well, maybe that's the last answer, but guys, we do have a short break. Griffin are going to have to pull something out of a hat. So many Magic references so far here today, but we know, all of us want 5 games. If we can get to it, we'll do our very best, but you guys have to believe in Griffin to try and pull this one back. Send them your energy. Oh, it's going to be rough. We'll see whether they can do it after the break.
What are you doing?
I love you. Thank you so much.
Whoa, Jess, what the frickety frick? Whoa! Whoa!
The whole gifting subs thing, that is magical.
What are you doing?
I love you. Thank you so much.
Whoa, Jess, what the frickety frick? Whoa! Whoa!
The whole gifting subs thing, that is magical.
This is for those who dare to stand up. For those who dare to make a difference. Get ready for battle and join the Republic of Gamers.
이 혹독한 훈련에서 살아남은 의자만이 CDG의 의자가 되니까. 때론 지나친 고집이 정말 좋은 것을 만드니까 의자가 인생을 바꾼다. CDG.
일찌감치 LCK 1위를 확정지은 Another Level 그리핀. 그들에겐 절대 하면 안 되는 질문이 있습니다.
교전 상황에서의 콜은 누가 하나요?
딱히 콜은 안 하고 그냥
정신없는 한타 속에서도 아무 말이 없는 그리핀.
저희는 콜 없는 한타를 지향합니다. 말에 의존하지 않고 생각을 일치시키려고 훈련을 하고 있습니다.
거짓말 좀 치지 마요, CV맥스! 그런데 말입니다. 그들은 진짜 서로 잘 통하는 걸까요? 저희가 한번 확인해 보겠습니다.
이게 혹시 뭐 하는 건지 알 수 있을까요?
왜 온 거예요? 뭐 하는 거야 우리?
진짜 텔레파시가 통하는지 테스트를 해보겠습니다.
저희는 잘 안 틀려서.
근데 솔직하게 말할까? 널 맞춰볼까?
쏠래.
와 진짜 그래 뭐 그러던지 마음대로 하셔. 네.
벌써 통했어요.
너 무슨 생각했는지 알아?
이미 다 예상해가지고 말이 안 나네요.
다시 할게요.
오케이.
레드.
순간 생각이 많아져가지고. 정글 없으면 아무것도 못해.
미드가 밀리면 발개도 못 나가. 카메라만 끄면 친한데.
이엔즈. 와 진짜 이건 아니지.
자, 1, 2, 3 가면 더 들어왔습니다. 또 안 들어간대요? 또 안 들어간대요? 좋아요. 자, 절로 갔어요.
양심 제대로 없네. 이거 진짜로. 진짜.
난이도 문제를 심화시켜 두 번째 테스트를 시작합니다.
저는 이렇게 훈련 받았어요. 우리는 하나다.
저희의 목표는 5명이 하나가 되는 것이기 때문에 한 명이 빠진다? 말짱 도루묵.
베인하면 죽여줘야지. 어디 베인을 해?
예, 죽여줘야지. 뭐 했어? 죽여줘야지. 베인을 해?
베인이네? 죽여야지.
좀 모르겠어요. 근데 저도 형이랑 똑같은 생각한 것 같아요.
너 설마 24글자 적었지?
Another Level 테스트를 해보겠습니다.
저는 적절한 지원과 선수 자원만 있으면 어떤 팀이든 롤드컵 우승시킬 수 있습니다. 롤드컵 우승 전까지 월급을 또 받지 않을게요.
잠시만요. 형의 어록들 중에서 좀 생각 좀 해볼게요.
아 진짜 모르겠어.
100원 아니야? 감독님의 말을 안 들었네? 이렇게 중요한 거를 안 들었다고?
10원이요? 감독님 월급 9원 아니야?
원래 공격적이었던 소드 선수의 공격성을 시킨 건 다름 아닌 저거든요. 소드 선수의 공격성을 제가 너무 많이 억제했나.
아니 이건 진짜 어이가 없어서 기억나요.
아 맞다.
감독님의 말을 안 들었네. 이렇게 중요한 거를 안 들었다고?
그런 식으로 살지 말아. 하지 말아줘.
보인다.
결승전 준비 잘해서 재미있는 경기 보여드리도록 하겠습니다.
5시서 하나가 되는 훈련을 하고 있는데 아직 멀었구만.
그건 멀었지.
네, 아직 멀었다 생각합니다.
결승전도 재밌게 해보겠습니다.
화이팅.
화이팅.
아! Ôi mà chuẩn bị đi vào game 3. Kiểu game 2 biết tướng kiểu sao á, hồi làm tiếng biết tướng nhìn kỳ kỳ rồi. Tôi nghĩ cái đội hình tiếp theo nên chơi kiểu như cũ á, kiểu như top của người đi tiên là shot đánh chống chịu á. Tôi nghĩ được hơn á. Tại 2 trận rồi, cái trận đầu tiên là cũng không được, cầm Silas cũng không tạo được biến nhiều. Rồi game 2 biết tướng kiểu kỳ quá, biết tướng kiểu thiếu sát thương quá. Lại game 2 Chovy kiểu có những pha kiểu á, kiểu ráng quá, kiểu lao ráng quá. Tôi nghĩ là ván 3 Chovy sẽ cầm Zoe. Tôi nghĩ là phải. Còn nếu mà cấm thì chắc vẫn cấm Rai thôi. Còn AD của GRF chắc cầm Kaisa hoặc Vene, chắc vậy. Tôi nghĩ vậy. Kiểu như cũng có một con tướng cũng về lay để cho nó chừng sao nó cân bằng sát thương á. Chứ kiểu biết tướng kiểu như thế kia mà lúc ban đầu qua cúng cho 2 mạng gần như thua rồi. SKT 2 trận đánh 2 tướng, đánh cái đội hình về lay luôn, đánh cả 2 trận đều đánh về lay. MVP thuộc về click, nem không xéo. Điểm MVP hiện tại là 300 với KB là 6,8%. Điểm tầm nhìn là 57. Click
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to LCK Spring 2019 Final. It is 2-0 currently for SK Telecom, and to be perfectly honest, it's feeling like a 3-0 day unless Griffin can do the unthinkable, unless they can do what seems like the impossible.
And it's like if you roll the tape on game 2 and then freeze frame and say what are the likely chances of that, like there were so many individual and team mistakes in game number 2 that the prediction rate's going to be real low.
Oh yeah. You're going to get good odds on a Griffin bet this game.
The manner in which Griffin lost game 2, I think really can affect their mental fortitude. And what type of a strategy are they going to do here in game number 3, facing match point, needing to reverse sweep.
And you can see it already in the eyes of the coaches. Zephyr and CVMax were just on your screen. And man, CVMax looking real stressed. Moving into this game number 3, Zephyr with what was almost close to a smile, which is something you never really get from that gentleman. As Griffin moved back to the blue side, and here we are, pick and ban for game 3.
Griffin have side selection in game 1, 3, and 5, and even just saying game 5 feels like it's unearned because the series so far has been so one-note. We're back on the blue side now. They had to ban to set up the Pantheon and Taliyah duo lane in game number 1, and so far they have banned 2 common champions.
Yep, the Tom Kench is the only one missing. Callista also going to be banned first here by SKT in game number 3. Galio as well.
Yeah, banning away the Galio. This does mean that Silas and Lissandra, same bans as well.
Wow, okay.
See what
Is
this
Griffin
all
gonna
means.
try it again?
Well, they're not worried about the enemy stealing one of those champions. Clid could play Taliyah jungle, Faker could play it in mid lane, but I don't think they're worried about the contention on those picks. Sona Tarek also is a duo that we're thinking about, but we'll zoom in to pick number 1. It was Silas in game number 1. The bans rolled back. SKT says, well, we waited and we won. And the Silas first pick was better than expected. Doesn't mean they have to turn back into their game. But all we can do is see how many picks
Well, it needs to be Rise Rek'Sai here, guys, if you're running on the cheat sheet of game number 1.
Turn the page for me, Atlas. What's the script say on the next page?
It says we're repeating game 1, but Griffin win. I think that's what the script says.
I think they held the Rise as long as they're doing here too. They're not just locking it in.
Whoa, are
right?
you saying that this is a VOD? Are we even casting the right game?
I think
no. It's another one of
I think production's
LS's
just
theories.
running the VOD here. We got the overlays a little bit wrong though at the top.
Please help me, Cliff. Pick something else.
Oh.
It's the Braum, so he does. Thankfully, the VOD has stopped, and now we're back into the real game.
I like this Braum because it.
Không biết có lấy Olaf không?
Okay,
Taliyah.
Here it comes. Bronx cheers from the audience.
Taliyah, ba thông thêm một lần nữa hả?
Griffin is saying, let's do it better, and if they did it better, remember they made.
Có mấy người rất là tự tin vào cái kèo này. Mà sao?
But we noticed some mistakes in execution for the Pantheon especially. They're gonna have to make it work. CVMax is smiling.
Không hiểu lắm nhưng mà cái pha biết tướng cực kỳ dễ đến từ
around us. We are on the Griffin side of the stadium.
Oh my goodness! And remember, guys, game number 1
không thể hiểu được.
It just wasn't picked there.
Yeah.
So
vậy là Silas đường trên.
3 out of 3 on both sides in the first round that have been locked in exactly the same. The bans exactly the same. Oh man.
Now
the order's slightly different. That's all.
The issue is that remember in
Griffin,
yes, Pantheon Taliyah should get really far ahead. Lehens did not look that comfortable using the Pantheon ultimates, nor did Lehens and Viper seem to know how to manipulate the lane state to favor Taliyah Pantheon and make them the powerhouse that they can be in bottom. And so now what's going to happen is it going to be different? Or is it going to be
I want to point out another Chovy being able to lock in Akali again in the second round, and SKT have banned Akali this time. After that was, of course, the actual common point of power in game number 1 was Tarzan's pathing and Chovy as a player popping off on the Akali. Now, some of the tools so far have been altered. These are things to consider. Champion pools continue to be stretched, and SKT now have
đường trên của SKT sẽ đánh con gì đây?
Entire best of 1 to draw answer. These are the Avengers duo, as you dubbed it, LS, the Taliyah and Pantheon.
And the Akali and Hecarim have been in both of our most recent games.
Tôi nghĩ là lượt cấm cuối cùng của Lệ Thiên cũng sẽ cấm cho đường trên. Chính xác, Fiora cấm luôn đường trên. Cấm mất dây vào Fiora, mất luôn Akali và Hecarim.
And also Fiora count as the tank champion pool we thought Sword would enter with, so
Khang sẽ đánh con gì đây?
is of course a wonderful Fiora player. There's a lot of
chọn trước Ravan cho click.
No jungle pick yet for SKT. That's going to go tier list. They're the ones playing.
Bên kia có chọn thêm Olaf phải không?
One that's well worn. We'll see a lot
Tôi nghĩ chắc giờ cũng không còn một lần nữa luôn á. Chắc còn có Olaf. Hoặc là lấy Evelyn. Elise. Elise dành cho Thạc Ranh. Elise. Vị tướng cuối cùng. Axstock. Axstock dành cho Chovy để đối đầu với Ryan của Faker. Tiếp tục với một đội hình YOLO đến từ GRF.
With the Elise going into the jungle role, and like
Khang cần một chống
there's
chịu.
a lot more pick potential here in the early game. It's a lot easier
Riven.
to set things up.
Riven. Riven từ Khang. Vị tướng còn sót lại duy nhất trên đó, trên đường trên.
The Sword versus Khan match.
And Khan was able to solo
không, ta có
the time these two teams
Silas để đối đầu với Rai chứ không phải là Axstock đối đầu với Rai. Có vẻ như sau khi Khan biết Riven thì đã đổi Silas xuống đường giữa và để Axstock đi với Riven. Nó sẽ dễ thở hơn.
But Sword needs to perform here and get something out of what should be great for Khan.
Yeah, and the thing is though that Griffin, they still find themselves in a similar predicament in the draft. The team comp needs to get ahead. They can't do Baron as easily, just like in game number 1. They also have a reliance on Baron, just like in game number 1. Yatrox and Elise, they'll change things up, but is it going to be enough?
It's on the jungle for me. I think this has to be the Tarzan 200 IQ game.
Rất YOLO. Màn hình đã bắt đầu hạ xuống.
We know about how good a player Tarzan has been, but now you have to stand to be counted. Griffin are facing 3 match points. They've gone back.
Lại tiếp tục với một đội hình tay sát thương đến từ SKT.
On stage from game number 1. There's champs here that are strong, but can they actually get the early to mid game going? Like you say, that timer on what could be a super fast best of 5 is very much running.
Yeah, and both of these junglers as well are our Elise players. They're the ones that have found the most success on this pick. We'll see whether it is going to make the difference here for Griffin and can be their lifeline back into this series. They've shown us nothing so far. It is match point for SK Telecom. All they need to do is win one more game in the last 3 and they will be your spring champions, but they still have to do it. Can Griffin fight back?
Và chúng ta vào game 3 của chung kết LCK mùa xuân 2019. Wow. Tôi không biết tôi đang coi chung kết hay là đang coi đánh ranh nữa. Biết cái đội hình tôi thấy tôi không hiểu sao họ lại đi biết cái đội hình như thế.
My goodness.
Không thể tin được.
SKT fans are so loud in the Jumpshell Indoor Gymnasium tonight.
Hai con mắt được kéo ra từ phía SKT, bùa nhạc giữa và đường dưới.
From taking the championship with no response from Griffin thus far. Griffin now with their opportunity to try and find something and no level 1 shenanigans to ensue this time.
No, that probably is benefit to Griffin. I think the level 1 in game number 2 was to the huge detriment of their standard comp being able to actually play through the early game. Onus has been on them 3 games in a row, and we'd say the same thing about most of the Kingzone series for SKT as well. A lot of people are trying to open up strong, and SKT's been outlasting their enemies so far in LCK Spring 2019 playoffs. Let's watch this 2v2, and LS, please do chime in if you see any of the identity changing, because we were wondering, how aggressive do you play? It's not a level 2 spike, but the Hands and Viper were pushing with an Olaf jungle to turret dive. You can still turret dive with Elise. They never thought about freezing, which I know you're a big fan of, to try to threaten a full burst.
And I think that what they want to do is maybe set something up for the Elise. We see that she's starting on her blue side jungle so that she could transition into her red and eventually maybe look to make a dive.
Well, it might be Clitz who comes in first, exactly right. Gets the flash knockoff, and Viper should be going down. The Hands just has to watch as the Talia bites the dust. 2.5 minutes.
And you read the same thing that SKT
Chiến
did.
thuật
They
đầu
look
lại
at
dành
the
cho SKT.
start from Griffin. They see the attempt to slow it down as the jungle's going to take his time to path there. We saw that in game 1. We've seen that all season from Griffin. SKT read it. Level 2 Jarvan needs no introduction. And now that plan's out the window.
Yeah, now the Talia Pantheon lane is in shambles. It's not supposed to have Talia die this early. She's not getting her support item stacked. She falls so far behind. This is the #1 kill lane that Griffin's trying to get going.
Well, a small piece of good news, as the nice news ring true. No summoner was used.
Yeah.
And if a summoner was, if Talia flashes here, then I agree with you. It's kind of done and dusted, and we're thinking about what we're having for dinner. Spoilers, I think we're having Korean barbecue, so that's good to look forward to. But Tarzan's going to return. There will not be the very transparent turret. There's no ward here either.
Tarzan có lẽ phải đi rừng,
Looks like Tarzan is going to give
đi
up
di
on this
chuyển
one.
vào phía dưới bản đồ rất là nhiều để bảo vệ cho cặp đôi Viper và Lehens.
Going to be put on cooldown just yet as Teddy running low on mana, but Tarzan's wasting some time.
Double cleanse, by the way.
Và rất là ghê cho SKT khi cái mảng chiến công đầu lại thuộc vào tay của Teddy.
Tarzan is so invested in this.
Well, they move on over. Viper's surfing in. The
Cái nhảy xuống là Mata.
comes out, like you say.
Thanh tẩy được dùng.
Red buff's ticking. That's not enough.
An toàn.
Here from Griffin, and Viper even takes half of his health bar from Teddy, just landing some Qs.
And it was so awkward because, yes, you could have flashed on Pantheon to try to get the shove off, but the lane minions were pushed in perfectly for a teleport from Riven or Ryze, and that could have also potentially undone them, even if they got the first bit of burst on Tamada. The double cleanse, like you pointed out, LS, was important. The shove goes wide, and it feels like SKT are the one shoving Griffin away from the podium.
Well, speaking of which, Klid going to make his way towards the top side of the map. Sword did have a bit of a lead, just a bit of a poke there. Klid is going to be on his way as Chovy losing out on a trade massively against Faker here in the mid lane. It was Phase Rush last time we saw this Ryze being picked up. He moves back to the Aftershock. Could be that the Righteous Glory will be coming in next. Faker being a bit of a pseudo-tank here for his team as that sidestep was beautiful.
It does look like Chovy maybe keen on just trying to get some vision around the mid lane right now after having crashed in that wave. And as we look at bottom, Teddy.
No. Sword in trouble. Infernal Chains are going to get the pullback there. Nice knock up there from Sword to even out the trade. I was getting flashbacks.
Teddy doesn't have teleport. So he needs a recall, which means that he needs relief from his jungler. And you take a look at where Klid's pathing right now, and it has to be to bottom. This is almost an identical timing. Tarzan's coming in for the gank. Klid's pathing bottom. The Gromp is up. Is Tarzan going to try to eat it again and then get match or counter gank?
Well, looks like Griffin do want to be able to get themselves some more turret plates. Lehens didn't have the passive up just yet as there's the Cocoon landing onto Klid. Doesn't take a lot of damage, but gets over to the Blast Cone with a really nice repel. SKT have to show their hand on where their jungler is, but Griffin do the same.
With both reading the same textbook and the SKT one, spoilers, it ends with a victory if they can outlast Griffin's aggression. How about we send in more bad guys, says Griffin. This is some outnumbered stuff. This is an action movie. This is thick and fast action.
If at first you don't succeed, send more dudes, is the theory here for Griffin. They'll take a Gromp. Chovy's waiting. Klid's also waiting. Faker's farming minions.
Desperate.
Chovy wants to come in, gets himself a Cataclysm. But otherwise it's just a Gromp and a turret plate and a decent ultimate for Chovy.
Get a pretty decent ultimate, but definitely some lost opportunity. But Griffin, they really want to force the agenda.
Yep, you can see Klid, he's still here. Okay, that's a stun, just wants to get the Aftershock, but the stun comes in. Martin had landed that one, as Tarzan may have to flash to get out of this. Does so after the repel, but no one's dead. So I guess that's okay for Griffin, but they have to use so much more.
Feels like Griffin are trying to force the issue. It's like they had a test where they have to give a speech and they're just trying to jam one idea out there, repeat it again and again, and get the person to hand the marks out on what is supposed to be a long speech. It's a best of 5, and yet they seem out of ideas already, guys. Come into what? Just the start of game number 3.
Yeah. And in game 3, if they're panicking like this and trying to force these plays, let's talk about what the aftermath is. If you don't make these plays work, you're going to have an Elise stuck on one item in the mid-game, incapable of assassinating any of the members on SK Telecom. You're going to have a Talia and a Sylas doing virtually no damage. an Aatrox and a Pantheon is the only sources of physical damage. Things don't look pretty right now for Griffin as we're moving towards the mid game.
And the elephant in the room
Một vài di chuyển rất là khó hiểu ở đường dưới. Thì tôi từ nãy giờ tôi nghĩ tôi không biết tại sao Elise lại cứ ở rất là nhiều đường dưới như thế. Mất tóc biến.
But they actually lose something that might be bigger. And you say, Papa Smithy, that's everything.
Yeah.
You actually also are at danger as Griffin of losing the benefit of the doubt from the fan base, because Griffin had such a meteoric rise, talking about in promotion tournament how they were going to go on and make it all the way to Worlds. They got close, they couldn't do it. But, you know, in their first split, they made the final, and you said, guys, okay, I respect that. Then they made the Worlds Gauntlet, and they lost that, and you said, okay, it's their first split, I can respect that. If they lose here as well, we've run out of benefits of the doubt, guys. We've run out of reasons to believe that Griffin will get them next time. At some point, you add any more to that, and it reminds me of coming back from Rift Rivals and not believing in Kingzone anymore. I don't know whether I should believe in Sword, by the way. Let's watch this.
Well, Worldender is going to come in, gets a decent shot there on Khan, the heck out of here. They just wanted to pick themselves up that ultimate. Clid passing by is going to easily do so. And I want to echo your point. I mean, the only best of 5 that I really remember them winning was, you know, in Gauntlet runs and Kesper Cup, and that's about it for Griffin. When it counts, when it really comes down to the wire, it's something that LCK fans are so incredibly used to with Kingzone, with Afrika Freaks, with our Rift Rivals disaster that happened in 2018. We've been burnt before, Papa Smithy, and surely Griffin, all new players, they can't do it to us as well.
And Kingzone was supposed to be the one, LS. Kingzone were the ones, to, as long as you're gaming, to beat SKT and replace them into the new era. They weren't the ones. And then Griffin, surely they were going to be the ones, so close twice over. Maybe it just has to be the old guard to get it done.
Yep, it feels like the MMO discussion, which is going to be the WoW killer, and they all come and go. And WoW stays the same. It feels like SKT
I like
is
how you didn't make this so obvious League of Legends MOBA reference.
No, you can't do that. You can't be speaking up your own game. True Shot Barrage flies forward. Tarzan takes a hell of a lot of damage as the W's procced. He's not going to die just yet. He's just sent home with a bit of a sore back.
Right now, Viper and Lehens, they're getting a lot of plates down here in bottom lane. Still 4 minutes to go as well. It's going to be the 3rd plate picked up for them, and this is really good for the Pantheon and the Taliyah, but it still doesn't get them out of the situation that is inevitably coming to them at the 20-25 minute mark. This isn't a sizable enough advantage.
There isn't an advantage. Teddy's 1,000 gold ahead.
Well, actually, there's a duo advantage because Pantheon's 1,600 gold ahead from farming. This
90
Pantheon's
CS. How does he have 90 CS?
Because literally, they tried to turret dive the enemy hero lane 800,000 times.
They did do that.
So Pantheon got defarmed very easily, Atlas. It was on the screen.
I feel like that should have never happened. We were too busy talking about MMOs and things like that. As Tarzan and Clid are once again going to find one another. That is great reaction time there from Tarzan, who wants to get the cocoon off. Lands it, but that's on a minion. It's not what you want, and that's the 2nd kill for SKT. The flash from Lehens.
Clid made it out.
Clid does so much damn damage, but just not enough. 100 health gets Clid out of there.
And this just has to mentally get to you. You come so close so many times, and now bottom lane is going to have all the pressure relieved from them. Clid's going to get the Cloud Drake. SK Telecom are in a fantastic position here.
Yep, and the fight on the top side of the map is going to continue. Valor gets Khan out of the way. You can see the Dragon was given up on there by Clid. I thought it was optimistic. Didn't have a lot of health in that old health bar that he had. This has been okay for Sword, but remember game 1, Sword was actually crushing his lane. He was having a great time on the Sylas into the Hecarim matchup.
Hey guys, Tarzan's bot lane, pretty cool.
Hey, but this hasn't happened yet. Right, Worldender does come out on the top side of the map as Khan hasn't used his yet. They're trying to fight this one out. Sword should be able to get there. Wind Slash comes in, but it's not late enough. Look at that health bar, gets himself the shield. Not enough. Sword gets the one.
Solo kill at the shot.
And I mean, that's a really key solo kill right now for Griffin. They needed that kind of pressure relief inside of this game. They're also going to be able to get the teleport most likely out of Khan unless they initiate lane swap, but I think that's going to be too slow on tempo.
First turret should be going down here. Demolish Proc comes forward. That's the second last plate as Teddy's trying to get rid of Tarzan. Decent damage and not enough minions now, but so much global gold picked up by Griffin.
All right, who had Sword getting the solo kill in top lane in the
That's
pool?
not on my
for
bingo
getting
card.
Griffin
That's
back
not even
into
on
the
my
series.
bingo card.
Exactly, no one was thinking that one, but he needed to make that happen. It was as they got the Drake bot side as well. The moment that SKT takes Cloud Drake against Talia Pantheon around where Griffin have comp to be super strong early game, you're already as an analyst being like, that can't happen, that should never happen. The fact that they get a solo kill on the Aatrox side of the Riven matchup and the Drake is once again something to only keep them in the conversation, but at least the conversation isn't over at the 10-minute mark of game number 3.
We take a look at this replay, and you can see that Khan's handshaking something he can't win, which is very uncharacteristic of him.
He's trying to wait out World Ender and gets the calculation off, and then by the end he can't escape, so he's dead. But all we can say is, all the information was present, he misplays it. A rare, nice moment. It's nice to hear some clear comms. They're definitely not dwelling on it.
That was the most adorable half smile I've ever seen out of Sword right there. He knows how much that means to him. Fans have been saying some mean things towards Sword in his play on carries, and he just won a carry v carry matchup there, 1v1 against Khan.
And notice what Griffin are doing. They swapped their duo lane top. Remember, their duo lane 2v2 has so much all-in threat, especially with a jungler, because the objective bot lane is gone. The objective, it wasn't killing the turret. They're happy enough with one turret plate up. It was getting the Drake and getting most of the gold from turret plates. 14 minutes comes in, and now they'll also have control of the Rift Herald area, just like LS and I have been saying. You got to keep this up. Anytime you fall away, late game is not your friend.
Whoa, okay, Clid. He's going to turn up. Chovy gets in here, wants to find an ultimate position, throws it out, doesn't land it onto Clid, but there's the Dark. We've got the man drop. Lehens doesn't land the damage, but Clid has nowhere to go, and Faker can't affect anything now. This might be the Griffin turnaround.
Right now, Griffin, they're looking to try to get the Rift Herald, but it doesn't look like they actually want to commit too heavy to it. It's going to end up resetting.
Yeah, Sword and Khan continuing to fight, but now on the bottom side of the map. That meant that Marta and Teddy were in the area. Tarzan is going to start this one up yet again.
Trying to pull it out of range of the control ward, spotting it. Griffin know that a kill using all their ults and their globals, their long cooldown abilities, and backing away is not enough. With where this game is going. The Gathering Storm isn't a rune. It's the SKT fans wanting to celebrate a 3-0 victory. So they need to get the objective off the back end. We start to see the potential. You don't have to hit all your buttons if you have so damn many.
Yep, exactly right. 2 of them landed, and that was almost more than enough.
Yeah, and you can just see Clip, he didn't really have anything to do. Pantheon able to ult in behind him. He had some fancy footwork managing to dodge Chovy's ultimate there, but not quite. Ends up going down, and Griffin, they find themselves with a 2,000 gold lead here as well with Rift Herald to boot. Infernal, however, coming up in a minute and a half. That is super, super high priority.
Especially for SKT, because they've got a scaling draft going on. That's a natural thing, right? It's not scaling like the S-word bad case. It's just the enemy went Talia Pantheon, so anything scaling in reference. But what I want to talk about, because you saw Faker slow to react to Clid going down, is consider the items being done. Tiers stacking into Manamune, Muramana, and then Archangel Seraphs. Whenever you see Chovy versus Faker on the Sylas versus Ryze matchup, in the early game, Chovy dives in with his shield on his E, hits all the minions, might get some trade damage on Faker, but he shoves first because Faker can't actually turn and do enough damage to threaten him before his item build is done. So Sylas has priority to a point. So SKT are right to largely be in defensive mode. That changes when Seraphs transforms and second item completions means you can't play the lanes the same way.
Well, that's going to be the knock-up. That's going to be the stun. There's so much CC, but the seismic shove isn't enough. Aftershock is there for Faker, remember, and they turn it completely on its head. Sword is doing a lot of damage. Clid has to flash to get out. World Ender probably not going to be enough here to save Sword's life. Gets the flash. Umbral Dash gets him out of there. Flash forward from Faker, though. Avoids and destroys as SKT turn it around.
Classic Faker eyes. They make the turn. They read Griffin. And this might be the straw that finally breaks the backs of Griffin.
Yeah, well, Tarzan getting it turned around on him as well. The stopwatch is there. They've got such low health bars. Great flash from Tarzan. He was mashing hard enough as SKT, they get out of there with their own warp and they get themselves into the Dragon Pit.
Teddy's thinking to himself, haha, great job, guys. Is just idly sitting up there, chipping away at the turret.
He's got
thinking about Jin Air days.
I've got a global ultimate, guys. It's
How
okay.
far he's
Just
come.
make sure you fight them in a specific area. Because Lehens turns up and says, "This is my area." Immediate cleanse, but the ignite comes in afterwards. Aftershock Brock solo kill for the Pantheon. Is this my solo queue? What's happening?
Well, it's a kill. It's something that he can't kite away from. Flash was not going to be his savior, as that was
Tiếp tục với một con ride cực kỳ xanh đến từ Faker.
Might be too little, too late. When we get to the replay, we'll talk about the turn here, but SKT once again reading their opponents. If you watch the replay here, the first thing that Atlas knows his favor base, look at the overlapping CC, but what I noticed was look at the lack of damage. They don't even get through the shields.
Aftershock is disgusting.
And Aftershock Rise is going to repel lots of globals and lots of early game. He doesn't even take a real health point of damage, and then guess what? Khan's in position, and Griffin are in the death chamber.
He was dancing underneath a World Ender Aatrox taking 0 damage, flashing into turrets like just there.
Resists, of course, at extra armor and MR, and shields are temporary health, so more armor and MR means those 2 bursts of shielding Seraph's into his passive. With all that armor and MR, he was laughing at Griffin.
Look at that! Yeah, there was absolutely nothing that they could do to him, and this presents the problem that Griffin might have later on.
This is a problem that Clid has right now, but Marta's going to flash. That is going to deter them immediately. Chovy hijacks that ultimate. Glacial Fissures now to be coming out on both sides of the rift.
So now at this point, there's a little bit of breathing room. There's not any reason to really team fight. However, the Herald is going to be looking to raise the mid-tier 1 turret. SK Telecom can recognize, hey, we're not going to lose the game over 100 gold. We don't have to fight if we don't want to.
Well, Khan, he's going to start a fight here, but just immediately gets evaporated. Clint now tries to get out, locks himself in with the Cataclysm, and Teddy here with the damage. The Silas is going to fall. The Black Sword from Lehens gets a double on this Pantheon. Teddy turns it, gets himself the stun. Knock-up comes in, and that's another one. Viper finally getting in amongst this fight. There's another one going in the mid lane, though, and Sword gets rid of Faker. Viper now trying to get out as Teddy is turning it now. It's his turn to carry. Gets another one. Sword, can he get the 1v1? And I think the answer is no. That is 4 for 4.
And even though SKT conspire to make that so competitive with Khan offering himself as a sacrifice, Teddy's still too strong, too early. The teleport comes in. Sword, where you going, mate?
Yep, I don't know. Khan is going to be here. Umbral Dash going to be available. This is really
He's role-playing a wall.
sneaky. Oh my god!
Wow!
You could not have timed that
Rất
better.
ghê đến từ shot.
And he managed to get away. That was so well played.
I want the sword cam again. I want another one of those cheeky grins.
Series can be turned by moments. The fact that they went competitive and Sword gets out is a moment. Is it going to be a forgettable one or a memorable one? We'll wait and see. I know, I saw you throwing up your hands, unless Khan just straight up died.
Yes, Khan was just running into them needlessly, and this was the dangerous thing I was talking about. SK Telecom don't need to handshake this team fight. This is what Griffin wants. This is where they flourish at this point in the game. With Khan deleted, Teddy had to be a hero. He ended up missing 1 Mystic shot, but after that, Viper dodges 1 more, but Teddy still shows up really big to salvage the remains of this team fight. Sword not quite able to clip him right at the very end there. And the teleport came in shortly thereafter.
Just looking over both sides of this fight, it's really important that Sword's ult negated how strong Faker was as a frontliner that just turns around damage and kills you with Aftershock proc. It's important that Sword got this solo kill, because if Rise was actually able to fight with Khan and his allies, it shouldn't have gone that way. Rise did 2,900 damage into Sword, and it didn't end up doing too much.
Yeah, and the extra shield damage as well coming in from Sword is effective as well, given the fact that the Rise is building so many. Death Dance is completed now for Khan. Hasn't been farming up enough in comparison to Sword, though. And so Sword's going to be very close to his own. He's going back home now. We'll see whether he can complete it.